Right on set. Stand by.
For the first time in the year 2025, welcome to Sports Guys, your weekly sports talk show on Alegria Village Community Television. I'm joined by Ryan Calgren, my far left, Chuck Hiller, Steve Bainey, who we're very happy to have back with us. So we're at our full complement of 4 people on the panel. My name is Brian Rogers, and we are going to talk about the Detroit Lions game over the weekend with Minnesota. You might notice that 3 of the 4 of us are wearing Detroit Lions shirts, which there's a message there, which we'll discuss. I want to talk a little bit about college bowl games first, and Steve has some interesting information about the college football bowl champion structure that's coming up. But University of Michigan played in the ReliaQuest Bowl at noon on New Year's Eve, and they played against Alabama. They actually played twice in the calendar year 2024 against Alabama. And Michigan won 19-13. Very interesting game. It was played in Tampa, Florida, and if you're familiar with Florida weather, you know that rain can come up very quickly and very intensely, and that's what happened in the first period of that game, and it resulted, of course, in a wet ball and wet players and wet everything.
Wet everything.
But Alabama gave up the ball 3 times in the first period, and Michigan capitalized on it. And I think it was 2 fumbles and an interception.
Right.
And Alabama had the ball in the Michigan red zone with, I think, 2 minutes to play, and the Michigan defense kept them from scoring.
Beautiful.
Because with the score at 19-13, all Alabama had to do was score a touchdown, and the score would have been tied, and who knows what might have happened after that. So another interesting bowl game was Ohio State versus Oregon.
Wow.
Ohio State beat Oregon quite handily. I think 30-10, was that the score?
41 to 21.
41-21. All right. I knew there was a 20-point difference. Well, just come up with a 20-point difference, and that's what we did. Yeah.
Well, everybody was giving Oregon the award before anything happened.
Well, if you'll recall, I think it was in October, Ohio State played Oregon in Eugene, and Oregon won by 1 point because there was a clock management issue on the part of Ohio State in the last minute of the game. So anyway, I think Ohio State was probably just seething with revenge motivation.
And then they lost to
Michigan out in
Michigan.
the Rose Bowl. Yeah, right. So I want to throw it to Rod for a trivia question, and then we'll talk about the Lions game over the weekend, and then I'll throw it to Steve for some interesting comments about the college championship structure that's coming up. Rod, you want to
Yeah, well, when we're watching all this college football, very often we see the University of Miami playing because they've always had pretty good teams. And the question I have is, what is the logo for the University of Miami, and when and how and why did they pick this logo?
Okay, so you can ponder that, and we will discuss it just before we go off the air at the end of the show. Let's go to the game that's been on everybody's mind for weeks now, the game between Minnesota and the Detroit Lions that was played this previous Sunday. It's been called the most important regular season game in Detroit franchise history, and someone even said this morning, somebody called it the most important regular season game in National Football League history, which those are kind of extreme statements. But at any rate, the winner of the game, and we've known this for a while, would win the National Football Conference North Division Championship. And as such, they would be the #1 seed in the upcoming tournament. And there are certain really important advantages to having that distinction. One, you don't have to play in the first round of the playoffs.
A week off.
Which you have a week off, which in the case of the Lions are so many injuries, primarily on defense, but there are so many injuries. And also David Hamilton, a running back, has been injured. I don't know if he might be back for the game, which will be played, I think, is it the 18th or the 19th? Oh, yeah, Montgomery, that's right, sorry. So,
well, the interesting thing, too, was that while Detroit is having a record, Minnesota has the same record.
well, they both went, I think they were, 14-2 going into last night's game?
That was the first time you ever
yeah.
had 28 wins playing each other in the
Okay.
regular season.
Okay.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So at any rate, the final score was 31-9 Detroit.
Wow.
Detroit held Minnesota to 3 field goals.
But defense
Their
stepped up.
defense was just, Alex Anzalone was back, and he really made a difference in
Oh, he sure did.
harassing the Minnesota quarterback.
They made Darnold look like he was still playing in New York.
Well, he did, and they many times he missed wide open receivers by overthrowing them just because of the pressure that was being put upon him by the Detroit defense.
Yeah, he wanted to get rid of it before he got knocked down.
Yeah.
again.
Well, the amazing thing was the fact that Minnesota got down on the 4 and 5 yard line at times with first down and couldn't score a touchdown.
That's
Yeah,
right.
They had 12 plays.
They
With goal to goal.
twice they went for it on the 4th down and then they decided to start.
They
kicking
settled for a
field
field
goals.
goal. They
And missed
didn't.
it by 15 feet?
Yeah.
It was 15 feet off of the pole. I mean, come on. How do you miss it by that much?
Well, you can appreciate Jake Bates.
Yeah.
I mean, he is so consistent.
Oh, yeah.
as
Way out.
well as having such a great distance.
Yeah.
Well, he's played a major part in getting them to where they are.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So
A couple of those games that came down to the wire. Nice having that guy on the bench for sure.
some of the teams rested their starters, like Kansas City.
Yeah.
and they lost
The whole
38
team
to
rested.
nothing.
The whole
No.
team rested.
Patrick Mahomes, of course, did not play. So
Kind of disappointing. I wanted to see him play.
yeah.
I just so much.
Well, he's been banged up for a while.
That's why I wanted to see him. He would be normal like other guys.
Yeah.
And see?
Well, I just see him in the advertisements.
There you
Yeah,
go.
well,
Yeah. Oh, I know.
He
gosh.
does plenty of them.
What does he sell?
Yeah, right.
Some hair preparation, I think, and
Oh, yeah.
well, we
State
won't talk
Farm
about other
Insurance.
things.
Yeah, him and Jake of State Farm are
State
really
Farm,
good
yeah.
buddies now. Yeah. So an interesting side story to the Detroit versus Minnesota game on Sunday was that you know how loud the Detroit Lions fans can be in Ford Field. And Minnesota offered it, I don't know whether you'd call it a reduced rate or not. It was like $300 or $400, which is a lot of money to me. But to Minnesota season ticket holders to travel to Detroit to be in the stands and to help counteract the home field advantage noise that the Detroit Lions fans make. And I think they kind of wasted their money because it didn't do them a lot of good.
Yeah.
Didn't we hear that they spent $2 million to pay for these
Yeah.
fans.
Well, if you got
these
$2 million
season-
to spend on tickets, you got a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say.
I think their coach was talking to the referees a few times about the noise.
Oh, I'll bet
Oh
you.
yeah.
Huh?
Well,
You could almost read their lips.
Right. Yeah.
didn't
Yeah,
they
it was
used to
definitely noisy.
penalize the team whose fans were making a lot of noise? They'd
Way back,
warn them
yes.
once, yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And then they'd give them a 5-yard penalty
Yeah,
or
yeah.
loss of down or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought I remembered that.
Yeah.
All right,
That was way back.
I'm going to throw it to, yeah, well, I remember way back.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
all.
that's why a lot of teams
Not
went
as
to the,
far way back as some people. But.
yeah. A lot of the teams went to the slapping the hands,
Mhm.
so they could hear that better than the cadence.
Yeah, yeah. So it's would be especially important if a quarterback called an audible at the line of scrimmage, meaning
Right.
he would change the play that they discussed.
Yeah, the receiver
Which
didn't have a
Detroit
chance to
did
hear
a
it
couple
either.
of times for an unusual circumstance. Yeah.
So I'm going to throw it to Steve now. He's got some interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
comments
college
about the
football
college-
playoffs because they
yeah.
this year they went to a 12-team playoff, and the first week that the 9 through 12 were eliminated. But the thing is, all of the home teams were actually at home,
Mm-hmm.
and they won rather handily.
Yeah.
So I mean, the idea of having 12 teams, I think, is kind of not very well proven. But then in the second round, they played at neutral site.
And
All 4 games, and all 4 top teams lost.
right.
So it's like, you know, I mean, it's like, I mean, it seems to me that, I mean, at least give these guys in the lower echelon a neutral site to play on, you know?
You're going to have to do something.
Well, that's amazing when you think that it was a neutral site for all 8 teams. You know, they were playing what? The Fiesta Bowl, the Peach Bowl,
Right.
the Sugar Bowl, and the
Right.
Rose Bowl. And none of those places are, well, unless you're Georgia playing at the
Peach,
Peach
right.
Bowl and you're not. But
So we have.
It
Say
was
to
a-
have the home field advantage in the playoffs, it's like, man, I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, look at the Lions.
Yeah.
Home
yeah.
team in the playoffs
Well, it
is
is
like,
important.
yeah, big time.
I can't name a sport where home field does not offer an advantage.
Exactly, yeah.
So we're left with 4 college teams left.
4 college teams left.
which
They
is
play Thursday
Texas.
night and Friday night.
Okay.
Texas,
Oh.
Ohio,
Oh, okay. Ohio State.
and Notre Dame and Penn State.
Okay. Penn State.
That's it.
Notre Dame. You heard it here, so you'll know what teams to. You'll
Game
be
on
looking
Thursday,
for-
game on Friday, and then I think the following weekend is a championship game.
Okay.
yeah, I was surprised that Notre Dame beat Georgia so handily.
Well, Georgia lost their number 1 quarterback,
Yeah. Oh,
so they had a backup quarterback going in.
Yeah.
Okay.
That he was throwing a pass and guy caught his arm and messed up his elbow. He just had surgery like the
Oh,
week before.
Okay.
But an interesting aspect to these college championship games is that if a player opts to go into the NFL draft, he can't play in the bowl game.
Right.
And I don't know why that is. It's, I don't know, maybe a silly rule, but if a player opts to go into the NFL draft, in other words, to play professionally, he can't play at the college level anymore.
Well, they probably think
so-
he's going to go out and try to show off everything for the scouts that are going to
Well-
be watching.
Well, one of the problems now is they've added 3 games
Yeah.
to the schedule.
Really.
So not only do they have a chance of getting hurt in the 12-14 game season,
Now
whatever
they
number
got
they
3
play,
more.
now they got another 3 games to play.
Yeah.
And like I say, the other teams all got bowl games. So like I say, the thing is the chances of getting hurt
Are
increase
greater.
substantially towards the end of the season. Because like I say, I mean, like with the Lions, you got a lot of your top guys hurt. So now you're trying to, you know, show off your stuff with playing behind the second string guys, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, so chances of getting hurt increases as the season goes along. I don't blame them. Yeah. And if your career, I mean, NFL career, usually only about 3 years, average time.
Yeah,
Is
If
it?
you only got
Yeah,
3 years, you
yeah.
better go in healthy and get a big contract coming out of the gate. Otherwise, like I say, you wind up losing millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's
Chuck, what do you have today?
I want to talk about the Formula One. This is the craziest, the weirdest thing. We start on the 25 races right now for Formula One. But that's not the talk. The talk is that they are now allowed to start experimenting with the 26 races. The 26 races. And they now say that the 26 car will be totally changed. I thought I just heard that in 24 about the 25 car. And they were going to have smaller engines, double turbo, but the big thing is the hybrid situation. They have now perfected it. Ford is getting into it again. Ford's coming into it. Ferrari had made, of course, the special car strictly for Hamilton, Sir Hamilton, his own type of car, totally different, but still under the rules. He will be driving a car that they call has cord suspension in the back, and that will be the determining factor, turning, spinning, and so on, with cords, good old common ordinary cord, and that's how he likes to drive. Other drivers can't stand that. They want to go with the suspension in the front being the determining factor.
What's the material that the cords are made
They talk
from?
about a cord,
Like
a cord that
steel
you hang your
cable
clothes
or-
on.
Okay.
You know, your clothes on, that kind
Well,
of
you say
thing.
cord, I think bungee cord.
Oh
but
well,
I
you
can't-
you think high class. I'm the lower class. Good old cord that. Oh well.
You can plug it into your washing machine.
Yeah. I wanted to find out one thing. I've watched these Formula races, and they're going out there, and all of a sudden, as they may hit just a little high spot, flames come all over the place. You know, we've seen the sparks all the time. Why is it? What are they grinding down on that car when they do that? And I found a crazy thing. Did you know that there's a piece of wood, 2x4, from the front to the back of that car? And that piece of wood is very standard. Every car's got to have it. And it is held into place on the car by magnesium
both.
bolts.
Fastener.
Yeah. And as it goes over something, magnesium sparks. That's why it's doing it. Every car's got to have them, and they've got to have it at the end. Now, their concern is that with the new cars, they're getting lower and lower. More sparks are coming out. And the one thing they're worried about, if that board gets loose at 240 miles an hour, the car behind sees that sucker coming at them. What are they going to do? But that's the latest discussion on that. They've not had any of them. They've had a lot that really jiggled at the end because some of the magnesium has worn off and the board dropped some. But they haven't had that problem. But can you imagine all of this finesse and everything, and they use a piece of wood underneath
Which, just as part of the structural integrity of the car?
And also to see that they are all equal at that point there. They can check that out. By the way, the last 3 races that Ferrari lost was a crazy thing. They were complaining that Mercedes came up with, you know, the little ground things, the 3 little wings that they have in the front. Mercedes came up with a deal that they jiggle. They bounce. They were looser. And that's what gave them the little spurt at the end. So now we got the problem of, do you have jiggling air dynamics on
well,
the thing?
you're, does
So
does your spoiler jiggle and wiggle?
There you go.
You see what I mean?
Yeah,
You see,
yeah.
You see
Little
what I mean?
did I know.
But anyway, the cars for 26, they tell me, will look different than ones that we see now. However, if one sees a Formula One car it doesn't look like a car anymore. It looks like a torpedo or something as you go down. But for 26, we have something to look forward to. a
How
new look.
likely are we to see hybrid engines in these cars?
They have 'em.
Universally.
They have 'em.
Well, would
But he means in a big time.
would
They have 'em.
everybody
Formula One is the biggest you go.
would everybody adopt them eventually?
Oh yeah.
Or, okay.
Oh yeah. The thing is, with a hybrid engine, you can use the power from that hybrid to form new turbos. And remember, a turbo gives air, and air can increase the power of gasoline about one half more.
Yeah.
So that's why you have it. But those turbos take electric, right?
Yeah.
So how are we going to get the electric? An extra battery? That's weight. That's
Yeah.
not good. So they use the battery, and they have the regeneration battery. When you hit the brake, you're pumping the battery back and pumping it up again. And that's what they're going to be doing. A lot of it there.
I know my son has had a Toyota hybrid out in Oregon. He drives up and down the west coast.
They're
and he's
so
got
good.
well over 150,000 miles on
Yeah,
the
they are
Toyota
so
hybrid.
good.
Yeah.
Because you're not having to race them at that high speed all the time. The turbos are helping you all the way.
Oh.
The hybrid. It's a very good thing. Anyway, so Sir Hamilton is now with Ferrari. He has his own special car. They've made it totally different than any other car because it's going to be driven by ropes from the back. Now you answer that one,
Jeez.
and that's it. Anyway, Formula One is up and coming. They are drawing more people than anything.
Well, that's good.
It's pulling the car behind it with the ropes.
yeah, I
Really?
know.
Oh.
Yeah, I think.
When you
Hey,
watch them,
Yeah.
they're about this far apart.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you think, how in the world can they keep that close and not have more accidents?
Right.
They're daredevil at 240 miles an hour.
Yeah, at that speed. and-
Formula
and-
One towing service.
Wow.
Quadruple A because
Yeah.
of their higher price. Eh?
We haven't talked about college basketball much, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but Michigan and Michigan State are both doing very well. They are number 1 and number 2 in the Big Ten standings right now, and they have records of about 11 wins and 3 losses. I think they're both doing quite well. They're both 3-0 in the Big Ten, and they're number 1 and 2 in the Big Ten standings.
I've got a list here of the Michigan boys and girls basketball.
Oh,
And I cut it out. It's on this from this morning's paper, but and just marked the ones that are close to us. And the number 1 team in the state is U of D Jesuit,
oh,
who are 8-0 right now, and they're a Class 1 team, so they're a great boys basketball. And then the boys that are listed high up, Old Redford High School is top in Division II. Orchard Lake St. Mary's,
There
they're
we go
always
again.
have good teams. And Cass Tech is good not only in
Again.
football, but they're good in basketball. And then Allen Park, but it's a smaller school, but Allen Park Intercity Baptist. And in the girls,
That's high school, though, isn't it?
yeah.
this is
Okay.
high school. We're talking high school basketball in just Michigan. And guess what? In Michigan girls basketball, Belleville is
Oh,
number
no.
1.
There we go.
Where have we heard about Belleville
Oh,
being
yeah.
number 1 before? I can hardly wait for the football season to start, because I even read in the paper that in some of the last couple Michigan bowl games, Bryce Underwood where have we heard that name before?
He had
was
the pass.
was with the team.
Oh yeah, he had the pass right
Yeah.
here.
So
Yeah.
lo and behold, Belleville girls are number one, and Detroit Renaissance, Detroit Edison, Ann Arbor Richard are all up there near the top. So they're the closer ones. In basketball, where your teams aren't as big, you know, you've got 5 players and maybe 5 or 6
12 on the
subs.
roster.
The smaller schools can have some pretty good teams. So you get more of the teams from northern Michigan or the UP that will put together 5 kids that are they probably play together all summer long
Right,
and are good. So anyway, so much for that.
I've got some copy to read that I was given just before we went on the air concerning hockey and amateur hockey, and the U.S. won back-to-back gold medals for the first time in history at the 2025 IAHF World Junior Championship at the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa, Ontario. And it's these games are interesting to us because some of them are being carried by our community television here. You can see some of these young guns right here most weekends on CTV with our USA Hockey broadcasts. Top 2025 NHL draft prospect James Higgins, and these teams are affiliated with the NTDP, which is the National Team Development Program. San Jose Sharks prospect Brandon Svoboda, Washington Capitals prospect Cole Hudson, and Nashville Predators prospect Terry Stiga scored for the U.S. in the gold medal game, with Stiga earning Player of the Game honors for scoring the overtime winner at 8:04 of the extra period. Detroit Red Wings prospect Trey Augustine, so look for that name to pop up in the future, made 19 saves in the win. The Americans overcame a 1-0 and 3-1 deficit
Yeah.
en route to its historic victory.
Isn't that beautiful? That's beautiful. Yeah.
Hey, to get back just a spec to football, I saw this and it struck me in the Music City Bowl, which was held in, guess where? Nashville. Iowa played Missouri. And I watched it because Iowa was playing, and they're Big Ten, and they're always interesting. And on one of the plays, the Iowa run back man ran a kickoff back 102 yards
That's
for a
always
touchdown
exciting.
in the first quarter. And it turned out that Missouri ended up winning that game, but I thought with the way the kickoffs are being run now, I hardly, it seems like each one they line up a little differently on the team, and it's different in the pro, and if it goes through the end zone, it's an automatic touchback, and if they catch it in the end zone and take a knee, they get it out on the 25. Mostly, sometimes it's the 30, and if they kick it out of bounds, it's something different, and you never know what they're going to do. Yeah. Most of them seem to want to just automatically put it out on the 25.
Oh, yeah.
Rod, we're getting a signal now that we're running out of time, so why don't you answer the trivia question?
Yeah, answer the trivia.
Repeat it and then give us the answer.
Okay, well, we were talking about the logo for the University of Miami. that logo, if you'll remember, is a big U. And I've always wondered, and it's a two-colored U. And in the 1970s, Miami got tired of being confused because nobody knew the U of M, which was Miami, was also Michigan, was also Missouri,
Yeah.
And
was
Minnesota.
also Maryland.
Minnesota.
There were four major college basketball or football teams that were U of M, and Miami wanted to be different. So they said, we're going to have our logo a big U, and we are the university, the U, and they have songs about Go U and so forth and so on, and hence the U for their logo.
Yeah. Thank you. We're out of time, so thank you very much out there in resident land for tuning us in. Have a good week. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right.
Why is
All
it two
right.
colors?
Yeah. Oh, I don't, they didn't announce or describe that, but they just said they got tired of.
Well, I don't blame them.
Now they're the U, and everybody at Miami talks about
Yeah,
the
'cause-
U. And I thought that was kind of interesting.
Could you bring us the mic back?
My son left yesterday for Australia to see the Australian Open, which is one of the 4 major tennis tournaments, and that's going to be played either within the next 2 weeks.